My son just asked me for money. He wants to go to Hawaii for spring break. He's a good kid. He really is. It's most of the time. But when he asked, I got this strange feeling, this wave of déjà vu, because years ago when I was his age, I took my own spring break trip. It's something I've never talked about since. Something I wish I could forget. It was 1985. I was in my junior year at Wharton, the best business school in the country back then. I worked hard, but let me tell you, I partied hard too. And that spring, my girlfriend Maria invited me to spend the break with her family in Puerto Rico. It was my first time leaving the mainland, and I was honestly terrified. Meeting her family, a whole new culture. But she convinced me with that smile of hers. You know the one? The island was paradise. The sun just hits different there, and her family welcomed me like I was one of their own. Her mother especially, she had this warm but watchful presence. The kind that made you sit up a little straighter without her even saying a word. By the third day, Maria wanted to show me the El Yunque Rainforest, the only tropical rainforest in the U.S. National Forest System. And it was beautiful. I mean, massive emerald trees, waterfalls everywhere, mist rolling off the mountains. It was breathtaking. But when we got to the main trail, the one she'd been talking about for weeks, it was closed. A sign said there was flooding, but Maria, she wasn't having it. Come on, she said, tugging my hand. It's just a trail. Who's gonna know? I should have said no. God, I wish I had. We slipped past the barrier, laughing like a couple of idiots. The deeper we hiked, the quieter it got. All you could hear were our footsteps and the sound of the wind moving through the trees. Then we found it. Lying right across the path was a mongoose, what was left of one. Its head was gone. It was a clean cut, almost like it was done with a blade, and the blood, it was still wet. Maria froze, her hands flying to her mouth with a gasp. I walked a little closer, half expecting it to be some kind of prank, but it wasn't. The body was still warm, it was fresh. Let's just keep moving, I said, trying to sound calm, for her sake. Someone probably hit it or something, but deep down I knew that wasn't true. The cut was too clean. We walked for another 10 minutes, both of us completely silent. No more jokes, no more laughter. Every shadow started to look like something was moving. The jungle, which had been so beautiful just moments before, now felt alive like it was watching us. The air got heavy. Eventually, Maria said she didn't feel well, so we turned back. But when we got to the spot where the mongoose had been, it was gone. The dirt was disturbed, smeared with this weird greenish slime, and hanging from a nearby branch was the mongoose's body. Its paws were tied together with twine. Its stomach was split open, and that same green fluid was dripping down onto the leaves below. Maria let out this scream, this raw animal scream that still rings in my ears when I dream. I grabbed her wrist and just yelled, "Run." We sprinted. The trail was uneven, covered in roots, and we could hear something heavy moving behind us fast. Branches were snapping, and there were these echoing footsteps that definitely weren't ours. Then, from somewhere deep in the forest, came a scream. A woman screamed loud, agonizing and way too close. We both stopped for a split second. The sound was coming from behind us, from the direction we were running from. Maria started sobbing and pulled me forward. I have never run that fast in my entire life. We finally saw daylight up ahead the trailhead. There was a man standing there in a ranger's uniform, arms crossed, glaring at us. "Trail's closed," he shouted. "Can't." He stopped mid-sentence when he saw Maria. She was pale, shaking, just crying uncontrollably. He asked what happened. I told him everything, the body, the slime, the sound, the scream. He went pale and just said, "You need to come with me now." He led us to the ranger station and called the police. They questioned us for hours. I must have told the story 3 times, word for word. Maria never said a single thing. She just sat there, staring into space. Later, her mother came to get us. She was furious, but you could see she was also terrified. I never found out what the rangers or the police discovered that day, if they ever found anything at all. Maria and I broke up that summer. We never spoke again. Now, every time my son talks about adventure or living a little, I remember that sound, that scream. Because whatever made that sound that day in the rainforest, it wasn't human. Maybe I'll give him the money for Hawaii. At least I know what's there. Thanks for listening, everyone. Remember to be safe out there, and maybe think twice before crossing a barrier. Spring break was supposed to be chill that year. No clubs, no wild parties, just me and 3 of my best friends camping on a quiet beach in Alabama. There was Jackson, my ride-or-die since high school, Ariel, who could outdrink anyone, and Isabel, our planner, the one who made sure everything ran smooth. We wanted something peaceful. Stars, bonfires, waves, no crowds. Music softens. A breeze passes. We got there later than planned. The sun had already started dipping below the horizon, painting the sky with those last streaks of orange. The beach was empty. No campers, no fishermen, no footprints but our own. Just an endless stretch of sand and ocean. It should have been relaxing, but the silence felt wrong. Deepens, ocean quieter, more echo. We parked, grabbed our gear, and started walking toward the dunes. I had brought my dog, Bean, a big Doberman, with a bark that could scare the devil himself. Bean was loving it, rolling in the sand, running circles around us. His energy made us laugh. It lightened the mood. Then Ariel pointed out something strange. A car. Way down the access road, an old beat-up SUV rolled slowly past. The kind that rattles even when it's idling. It didn't stop, just drove by, turned around at the far end of the beach, and came back again. Music drops to faint tension hum. We brushed it off, figured it was some lost fisherman. But I still remember that license plate, dirt-caked and barely legible. When it finally disappeared down the road, the silence came back heavier this time. We finished setting up camp, cracked open a few beers, and tried to laugh it off. The fire crackled, Bean lay beside me, the stars came out one by one. For a while, everything was perfect. Campfire crackles softly, ocean waves fade in. Then, headlights. Back. The same SUV rolled past again, slower this time. Then it stopped. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. Even from a distance, I could tell he was tall, 6'3", maybe 6'4". The kind of tall that makes you feel smaller just by looking. He didn't say a word, just started walking toward us. Music. Low, thudding bass heartbeat begins. The girls went quiet. Jackson and I exchanged a look, then stood up. Bean's ears perked, a low growl rumbling in his throat. We walked to meet the guy halfway. Jackson tried to play it cool. "Hey man, how's it going?" The guy's head tilted just slightly. His walk was strange, uneven, like one of his legs didn't bend right. Then he spoke, voice thick and slurred. "You're on my property." I frowned. "Sorry, we thought this was public land." He didn't answer, didn't blink. Then, without warning, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a knife. Sharp metal sound, wind stops. Bean exploded into a growl, fur standing on end. I shouted, "Hey, take it easy, man." But the guy didn't stop. He broke into a run, knife outstretched, charging right at us. Before I could react, Bean lunged. Sound bark, plus impact, plus struggle. He went straight for the guy's arm, the one holding the knife. They hit the sand hard. The knife flew out of his hand. Screamed in pain, kicking, trying to shove Bean off. He yelled, "Bean, off." He released and backed up to me, teeth bared, ready to strike again. The guy scrambled to his feet, bleeding, clutching his arm. For a second, we just stared at each other. Me holding a rock I didn't remember picking up. Him breathing heavy, eyes wild. Then he turned and ran. He sprinted to his SUV, slammed the door, and tore off into the night, sand flying behind his tires. Music fades to quiet ocean again. We ran back to the camp. Isabel and Ariel were pale, shaking. I told them what happened. "We need to go, now." Isabel's voice cracked. I hesitated. It was dark, the access road narrow, the car half a mile away. If that guy came back, we'd be sitting ducks with our hands full of gear. But she was right. If he had a weapon, a gun, maybe we wouldn't stand a chance. So Ariel called the police. Phone dialing, wind rising, faint sound of waves. We packed as fast as we could, throwing tents and bags into the sand, our flashlights shaking in our hands. Bean stayed close, sniffing the air, growling at nothing. Halfway to the car, we saw flashing lights in the distance. I felt relief. The police were here, but as we got closer, that relief evaporated. The officer stepped out and pointed to my car. "You the owner of this vehicle?" I nodded. "Your tires are slashed, music hits, metallic tension cord. Every single tire, flat." I felt my stomach drop. That guy had beaten us here. He must have driven ahead, waited for us, and done this while we were still packing. The cop unholstered his gun, popped the trunk now. I did, hand shaking. He checked. Nothing, thank God. But I'll never forget his face when he said, "You're lucky you had that dog." Whoever that man was, he wasn't just drunk. was hunting. Long pause, faint crackle of campfire returns. We filed the report. They never found him, and I never went camping again. Sometimes when I close my eyes, I still see that beach, empty, silent, and in the distance, headlights moving slowly, back and forth, looking for someone new. Sound fades out. Waves give soft heartbeat, give silence. Last spring break, my best friend Michelle and I thought we'd found paradise. Quick trip to Miami sunshine, beaches, and a break from real life. We were 22, and this was our first big vacation together. We rented this cute little house in Wynwood with a tiny pool and those trendy string lights. It felt perfect. The first day was amazing. Hit the beach, soaked up the sun, and just let all our stress melt away. And that's when we met him. He introduced himself as Will. He had this calm, confident vibe, the kind of charm that makes you feel instantly at ease. He wasn't pushy or creepy, just made some friendly small talk, and then went on his way. He seemed totally normal. Later that afternoon, my phone buzzed. It was a text from Will. "You and your friends seem fun. Let's all go out tonight." Michelle was a little hesitant, but I talked her into it. I mean, we were adults on vacation. What could possibly go wrong? That night, Will and his friend Ken came over to our rental before we headed out. They brought snacks and drinks, and the conversation was so easy and fun. We were all laughing by the pool, music playing. It genuinely felt like one of those perfect vacation nights you see in movies. Eventually, we walked down the street to a nearby bar. The place was buzzing neon lights, loud music, everyone dancing. For a while, everything was great. But then, I started to notice something was off. Will began acting strange. He'd disappear for long stretches, constantly on his phone, and he kept glancing around the room like he was looking for someone. When I asked if he was okay, he'd just smile this empty smile and say, "Yeah, just making sure our table's good." And then he just vanished. I waited 10 minutes, then 20. I sent him a text, but got no reply. Michelle and Ken were on the other side of the crowded bar, so I was standing there alone. That's when I saw him. Will was standing in a dark corner near the far wall, just watching me. He wasn't dancing or talking to anyone, he was just standing there. When our eyes met, he didn't look away. A cold chill ran right up my spine. I immediately looked for Michelle, but I couldn't see her anywhere in the crowd. I tried calling her, but it went straight to voicemail, and he started walking toward me, slowly. That friendly smile from earlier was gone, replaced by something I couldn't quite read, but it made me feel sick. I panicked. I slipped out a side exit into the cool night air, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I started walking fast, trying to get back to our rental house as quickly as I could. Halfway there, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Michelle. "Where did you go?" I quickly typed back, "Heading home. Call me when you can." But before I could hit send, another notification popped up. It was from Will. It said, "You shouldn't walk alone at night." My heart just dropped into my stomach. How did he know our address? I don't remember ever telling him. I broke into a full-on sprint. When I finally got back to the house, I bolted every single lock on every door and window, turned off all the lights, and just waited. About 10 minutes later, the motion sensor light in the backyard clicked on. Someone was out there. I crept over to the window and peeked through the curtain, and I saw him. It was Will. He was standing at the edge of the pool, his face hidden in the shadows. He was just standing there, staring at the house. I didn't move. I barely even breathed. After what felt like an eternity, he finally turned and walked away. Michelle got back about an hour later. She told me Ken had also left abruptly, without any explanation. We stayed up for the rest of the night, too terrified to even think about sleeping. The next morning, we decided to check the outdoor security cameras the rental host had mentioned, and there he was. The footage showed Will standing by our pool, just watching the windows. We filed a police report. They said they would look into it, but we never heard back from them. We packed our bags and left Miami that same day. I haven't been back since. Now, when I think about that trip, I don't remember the sunny beaches or the laughter with my best friend. All I remember is the chilling feeling of seeing that text message pop up on my screen. You shouldn't walk alone at night. Thanks for listening to my story. It's a heavy one, but I feel like it's important to share. If you have a story of your own, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Stay safe out there. My name's Anna. Don't forget to like. And this story is about a spring break trip that went horribly wrong. Last year, my friend Lena and I decided to drive down to Charleston, South Carolina. We were broke college juniors, so a fancy resort was out of the question. Instead, we found a cheap Airbnb near the historic district. The plan was simple: explore the city, eat some good food, and maybe check out the nightlife. What we actually got was a terrifying experience that I still struggle to explain. The first 2 days were absolutely perfect. We wandered through the charming cobblestone streets, browsed the old markets, and took a million pictures of those beautiful, pastel-colored houses Charleston is famous for. We quickly fell into a comfortable routine. Wake up early to beat the crowds, spend the evenings trying out local bars and seafood restaurants. It was exactly the break we needed. On our third night, we found this cozy little diner right near the water. It had old brick walls, flickering lights, and the air smelled like fried shrimp and sweet tea. It felt safe and welcoming. We were just chatting and enjoying our meal when my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. All it said was, "Hey." I showed it to Lena, and she just laughed it off. "Probably just a wrong number," she said. I figured she was right. But then, a minute later, another message came through. "Look outside." My heart did a little flip. I glanced out the window next to our booth. The street was busy with people walking by, tourists with cameras, couples holding hands, but no one was looking in our direction. I told Lena it was probably just some bored local messing with people. We tried to ignore it, paid our bill, and left the diner. But I couldn't shake this weird, uneasy feeling that followed me out into the night. When we got back to our Airbnb, I got another text. This one said, "Nice red jacket." I froze. I looked down at what I was wearing, a red jacket. That was way too specific to be a coincidence. Lena's smile vanished completely. "Anna," she whispered, her eyes wide. "Someone's watching us." We immediately ran to the doors and windows, double-checking all the locks and pulling every curtain shut. We tried to distract ourselves by putting on a movie, but the feeling of being watched was suffocating. Every little creak of the old house made us jump. Then, around 10:30 p.m., my phone lit up again. "You look better when you laugh." My stomach twisted into a knot. We were inside, with the curtains drawn. I hadn't posted anything on social media all night. No pictures, no stories, nothing. How could they know I was laughing? Whoever this was, they had to be close enough to hear us or see us through a crack in the blinds. Lena grabbed her phone and frantically called our Airbnb host. He sounded tired and dismissed our fears as a prank, promising to check the cameras in the morning that offered zero comfort. We were officially terrified. Desperate for a sense of normalcy, we decided to order some food. Maybe the routine of it would help calm our nerves. I opened a delivery app, placed an order, and specifically chose the leave at door option. We waited for nearly an hour, huddled together on the couch, speaking in hushed tones, our ears straining to catch any sound from outside. Finally, we heard a soft knock at the door. I checked my phone. The app said the delivery was complete, but there was no confirmation picture, which was unusual. I cautiously crept to the front door and peered through the peephole. A man in a gray hoodie stood on the porch holding a paper bag. The porch light cast a deep shadow over his face, hiding his features. "Uber Eats for Anna," he said. His voice was unsettlingly calm. "Thank you." "Q?" "You can just leave it by the door," I called back, my voice shaking slightly, but he didn't move. He just stood there. A few long, silent seconds passed before he spoke again. "I just need you to come sign something real quick." My blood ran cold. No delivery app requires a signature like that. Lena grabbed my arm and mouthed, "Don't open the door." I backed away slowly, my hand already dialing 911 as she rushed to turn off all the lights in the house. As I whispered to the dispatcher, explaining the situation, the man knocked again, much louder this time. Then we heard the doorknob rattle violently. "Ah!" The dispatcher told us to stay quiet and hide. We crouched in the dark hallway, our eyes glued to the thin sliver of light under the door, watching a shadow move back and forth. It felt like an eternity. Then, suddenly, the rattling stopped. A moment later, the motion sensor light outside flicked on. I peeked through the blinds just in time to see the man in the hoodie walking away, disappearing quickly down the street. 2 minutes later, the comforting flash of red and blue police lights filled our windows. An officer came inside, his presence immediately calming. He listened to our story, briefly checked our phones, and went outside to investigate. When he returned, his expression was grave. "You girls did the right thing," he said quietly. "We caught him 2 blocks down." It turned out the real delivery driver had dropped our food off an hour earlier. This man had stolen it from the porch and was using it as a lure to get us to open the door. He wasn't connected to the restaurant or the Airbnb. He had simply seen us earlier that day at a small cafe where we had entered a giveaway, writing our names down. He used that information to find us. The officer explained that this man had been reported before for the exact same pattern, watching tourists, sending terrifying messages, and trying to get them to open their doors. If we had unlocked that door, ... I can't even let my mind go there. We packed our bags and left Charleston the very next morning. I didn't even risk a glance back at the house. Now, whenever my phone buzzes late at night, a part of me is right back in that dark Airbnb. I always check the windows first, because I learned that some messages aren't just texts, they're warnings. Stay safe out there, everyone. Thank you for listening, and if you have a story you'd like to share, let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories.